Hello everybody, I am Jared Ross, a GeneaVlogger, and welcome back to another Professional Genealogist Reacts. In today's video, I will be reacting to Ethiopian Genetics Test by Naturally Batel. This video was suggested to me by Sergey Fizulyanov, who is a genealogy researcher out in Vinnytsia, Ukraine. I've actually hired him to help me with genealogy research out there, and he's been a big part of the digitization project that's being led by Alex Krakovsky in Ukraine. So Sergey is a really cool guy. He does a whole lot in the genealogy community. So when he suggested this to me, I knew I definitely had to check it out. I'm interested to see if maybe she has a connection to the Ethiopian Jewish communities. I don't really know. If she does, it'll be interesting to see if she does. But either way, I've never really seen Ethiopian DNA test results, so it'll be interesting to see what she gets, and especially if she's able to take one of the tests that goes a little bit more in depth into the regions and areas of Africa than just kind of East Africa, West Africa, North Africa, South Africa, stuff like that. But before we jump into the video, please be sure to give this a thumbs up. It really does help me out. As well, you can also click the subscribe button and click that bell for notifications for future videos. I have a whole bunch of videos that I'm planning to come out with pretty soon. A whole bunch of stuff that was kind of put on hold because of the whole coronavirus thing. So a lot of videos that I've done a lot of research for. So a whole lot of professional genealogist react videos as well, but a lot of my other type of videos. So no matter which ones you like, please be sure to subscribe, click that bell, and hopefully you enjoyed the channel. But let's go ahead and jump right into this video.
Hey guys, so today I'm going to be sharing with you the results of a genetics test that I took back in May. Now, I just got the results back and I'm really excited to share them with you guys. I haven't looked at them yet, so this is going to be first glance, first reaction, all live. I'm a first generation Ethiopian American because I was born here in America, but I've never really questioned my genetic makeup until I read a flood of hate comments on my first YouTube video. These comments were so specific. It's still up. You guys can watch it if you want. It's Black girls can grow long hair. When I made that video, a lot of people were telling me in my comments that I'm not fully black and I must be mixed with something because I have features that look European. I didn't really...
Yeah, the whole thing with how people look is a really massive misconception that DNA and genetics are pretty much disproving. You know, it's a very common thing for people to think that I'm Scottish and Irish, or, you know, but I don't have any Scottish or Irish ancestry. I've done my DNA test. I've done the genealogy. It all matches up. I've been able to prove a whole bunch of my ancestors are my ancestors. I know my parents are my parents. I know my grandparents are my grandparents. I know my sister is my sister. You know, I've had uncles test, cousins test. But, you know, looking at me, most people would just think, oh yeah, he's Scottish, Irish, something like that because of red hair. So, you know, a lot of people get that all the time, I'm sure, who come from Africa, who are of light skin. And they're, you know, Africa is huge, absolutely a massive, massive continent. So the amount of diversity throughout the entire continent of, you know, of color, and, you know, it spans a lot, you know. So I'm sure that, you know, she's probably not going to be, well, I don't know if I'm sure, but I won't be surprised if she isn't really mixed with much outside of Africa. I really wouldn't be surprised. So I totally get where she's coming from with YouTube comments. It's kind of funny. YouTube comments can be the greatest thing, but at the same time, they can be some of the worst. So, yeah.
Reply to those comments because it didn't matter to me what people thought. Like, I know I'm African because my parents were born and raised there. There's a misconception about what Africans look like. Africa is the most genetically diverse continent in the world.
Just like I was saying.
From east to west, north to south, we look completely different. I just don't think that it's a valid argument to say that East Africans or South Africans or North Africans don't look African, because people assume that everyone is supposed to look like West Africans. We all look different. We all are beautiful. And I just think that as a continent, we need more unity. So as people would try and defend me in my comments and say she is Black because she's African, she's Ethiopian, people would argue that Ethiopians aren't fully African because we're mixed with Arabs, and that's why we have lighter skin. I'd never heard that before, and when I asked my parents about this, they confirmed it and said, well, yeah, Ethiopians and people in the Horn of Africa were mixed with Arabs, and that's why we look different compared to West Africans.
It definitely makes sense, especially knowing the migrations. And I mean, North Africa had, the Moors and, tons, a huge Muslim population, huge Arabic population. And so, yeah, being in the Horn of Africa, they probably got a whole lot of that. And, if you think about it, even over thousands of years, if there's a massive population of people who move to a country and they stay within a community or a certain area, then, generation after generation, the DNA that they put into that population will then be a major part of it. So I don't know a whole lot about the history of Ethiopia, so I don't quite know all of the populations that might have migrated there, but it does make a lot of sense that you would have a lot of different Arabs, people coming from the Middle East, people from Asia coming in and possibly mixing with the population. And then, of course, there is the Jewish Ethiopian population. I know there's been DNA tests done to see if they are truly of Jewish ancestry, or at least connect to the overall Jewish diaspora. And I don't know if there was a connection or not. I'd have to look into that.
So it was really interesting to me, and that's what made me want to take a genetics test, because I was like, I wonder where I'm from now, like I never really thought about it. I just thought, since my family tree goes straight to Ethiopia, there's not really any question about what else I would be mixed with. So as I said before, Africa is the most genetically diverse continent on the planet, and Ethiopia is extremely diverse as well. Come here, Noah.
Hello.
So this is a great example of how diverse Ethiopia is. Even though we have the same parents, we look very different. How tall are you?
6'3".
Okay, rounding up, I think he's 6'2". I'm 5'5", and as you can tell, I'm light skinned and he's dark skinned. And I don't think we really have any of the same features. Do we have
maybe the nose?
Yeah, maybe
they have the same sort of face.
I think that's about it, honestly.
It's just that because he's so dark and she's so light skinned, it's kind of harder to tell. But they definitely have the same shaped face, sort
Actually,
of same structure.
My hair isn't this light. So when I decided to take this genetics test, I ordered it online from National Geographic, and I got this box here.
Oh, she got the Geno 2.0. How old is this video? This is from 2016. Yeah, this is a very, very rare test for people to do, and pretty much anyone who's done this test, you really get the most of your results now, I think, from family tree DNA. I never actually did the National Geographic tests, but what she's doing here are the swabs, which most videos you'll see people doing the spit test, which that's going to be 23andMe and your Ancestry. But these swabs that she's doing, if you test at MyHeritage or if you test a family tree DNA, this is what it's going to be looking like for you.
Swab the inside of your right cheek, put that in one vial, and you swab your left cheek and put that in a second vial. And then you sign a waiver form and mail it back to them with the vial inside. as I was asking my parents about their family tree, apparently there is a chance that I might have Italian mixed in me too, because Italy invaded Ethiopia twice. Once during the 1890s, I think it was 1895, and the second time was during 1935. And so
if it was that recent, though, then she probably would have known, because that would have been a great-grandparent or a great-great-grandparent who would have been Italian, assuming that someone from Italy came over in the late 1800s or in the 1930s and then had a child who would then be her ancestor. So very doubtful anyone from this second Italo-Ethiopian War in 1935. Maybe a bit more possible with the other one, but even then, you know, if that was someone coming over in the 1890s, it's doubtful. It would have to be much more distant, like early 1800s, to more likely be there. But it's possible.
Their parents were a lot older by the time they had them. So their parents were born in like the early 1900s. So I know for a fact that nobody in my family tree mixed with Italians in the 1930s because my grandparents were already alive by then.
Right.
But in the 1890s, apparently my dad's grandpa is somewhat of a mystery. My dad never met his grandpa, and so there's a chance that he might be Italian. Now I'm going to find out what my genetic history is made up of.
I've never actually seen the website for the National Geographic test, so this is very interesting. But I don't think it's round anymore. I think it's all on family tree DNA.
Neanderthal in them. But apparently I have 0.6% Neanderthal, and the average is 2.1%. So that's interesting. So I'm going to explore the results of this first, because...
So maternal line would be the mitochondrial DNA. So it's your haplogroup from your mother's 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 mother. So, and I think it's L1 is the oldest. Or maybe there's an L0. I forgot. Every once in a while they'll find an older haplogroup when they go out and do these different population group tests. You know, they'll usually test mitochondrial DNA and the DNA from Y chromosome for men. And I know that every once in a while they'll find a mitochondrial haplogroup or a Y DNA haplogroup that goes back further than anything else that has been found yet.
I'm just going to go back. Oh my god, okay. I'm 56% East African. That's crazy. Both my parents were born and raised in Ethiopia. My whole family tree.
Well, what's the other?
That I knew
what's
of,
the
stems
44%?
Yet I'm only 56% East African. What am I? This is so weird.
And this is from 2016,
okay,
so I wonder what her
this
results would look like today.
10,000 years ago. So I guess I wouldn't know 10,000 years ago what my family was. Oh my god, okay. 56% East African, 28% Arabian, 11% North African, 3% Asian minority.
2% Jewish
Asia
diaspora.
I don't know. Asia. Okay. And yeah, 2% Jewish diaspora. I think most people will have 2 or 3% Jewish diaspora within them, but my dad's whole side of the family is Jewish, so I was definitely expecting more of that to be in me.
Interesting. So she does. So her dad's side, if they're from Ethiopia and he's Jewish, then I assume that he comes from the Ethiopian Jewish community. So that's very interesting.
So strange. I was expecting like 10 or 20% Arabian, but 28%, like that's basically half. Oh my gosh, wow. Okay, so my first reference population is Kenya, but it doesn't really match up with that. I don't understand this. This is really confusing.
Yeah, I've never seen what that... I don't know what this is supposed to indicate. Is this just saying that they're assuming that some of her ancestry is from Kenya. Well, the West and Central Africa. I don't know. Interesting. I've never seen the genographic results.
So, I guess I'm more Kenyan than I am Ethiopian.
See, I don't know if that's what they're saying or not.
Wow. So
maybe I wonder if what they're saying is that her DNA results are matching, or more of it is matching with the Kenyan population group than with the Ethiopian population group they have. But then a big question would be, what are the differences between the population groups that they have? Maybe they have a whole lot more people who have done results with Kenyan ancestry, and thus that skews it where maybe some of those people with Kenyan ancestry were actually Ethiopian, or they have different Ethiopian ties they didn't realize, and so it makes certain Ethiopian people look more Kenyan. But I don't really know what they're trying to say with that, so I'd be kind of curious to see if anybody does know. Put it in the comments.
Related to Lucy? I mean, I guess we all are, but not as close as I thought. Oh, that's kind of a bummer. Okay, so my second reference population is Ethiopia, and I mean, my genetic breakdown resembles Ethiopia more, but I guess my oldest reference population is from Kenya. That's so interesting. Let me go back to this map. This map is so hard to read, but
yeah, I don't like how they present the results in this website. I can't go through it myself right now, but looking at what they're giving, it's very basic to me.
Okay, so this dot looks like either Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, or Kazakhstan. So some type of still like Middle Eastern country. Of course, these countries didn't exist 10,000 years ago, but I'm just trying to pinpoint where it would be on a modern map. I'm very surprised by the results of this.
I will say what she just said a little bit ago, that is a good point to keep in mind when you look at these results, is these countries have not always existed. In the fact that the lines of what decides on a certain area have not always existed. So populations have weaved their way all over the world in different ways. So keeping that in mind is a very good thing. So I'm glad she pointed that out.
Genetics test, but I'm pleasantly surprised. I'm glad I know now. It's really interesting. And now I can say with confidence that yes, Ethiopians are mixed with Arabians. I took genetics test and I'm 28% Arabian. If this video did inspire you to take your own genetics test, please tweet it to me. I'm so interested in having everyone share their stories and genetic makeup and find out how we're all related to one another. If you're Abisha, it's very interesting to learn that you might not be a direct relative of Dinkanesh. You could have spread out across the world and not even know it. Yeah, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe.
Thumbs up, subscribe.
And yeah, stay tuned for more. I make new videos every week. All right, thanks y'all. Peace.
All right. Well, I thought that was a pretty good video. It was very interesting to see. I kind of wish she had tested with a different company, especially, 23andMe or Family Tree DNA, MyHeritage, and any of the big four, really. I've never seen the results for the National Geographic Geno 2.0 project, which was a DNA test that you could take for many, many years. But now it's basically just Family Tree DNA. So it'd be nice to see what her results are with one of those other tests. I'd be very interested to find out more about her dad's side of the family, being that she said that her dad is Jewish being from Ethiopia, he's probably part of the Jewish Ethiopian community, and it'd be very interesting to just see what's his DNA like. Maybe he has a lot more Jewish reading, and testing elsewhere, maybe they will get a better Jewish reading. Maybe it'll be higher. But more than that, I'd be very interested to see a Y chromosome or a mitochondrial DNA test for them. Especially if it's like the father's paternal line, where it's, his father and his father and his father, as far as back as he can think, were Jewish, then, that'd be very interesting to see. I still have not, or I mentioned this earlier, but I've never really looked into the whole Ethiopian Jewish communities, and I know that there's been DNA tests into it, but I don't really remember what they were, the results. But overall, this video really was good. She makes a lot of good points, and, she's experienced a lot of that stuff where just because of how you look, people don't think that you have the ancestry that you really have. But then again, she did actually do the DNA test, and what she originally thought wasn't quite, where she thought she was completely African, and she is mixed a bit. But, it does go to show you that just because of how somebody looks, you can't really tell for sure where they come from. Well, thank you so much for checking out this video. If you enjoyed, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. It really does help me out. You can also click right about here if you'd like to subscribe. It's completely free to do so. And you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at GeneaVlogger. I'm the GeneaVlogger. I'll see you in my next video.